Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of our precious opportunity to catch Costa Constantinides, who is the City Council member of New York District 22. Very fantastic, fabulous, and hardworking politicians, officials who is totally dedicated to community. His district is a multi-dimensional district where large number of people from different part of the world lives. A multi-dimensional, multicultural, and different geography can be seen here in his district, which is probably one of the most versatile districts around in the United States of America, not only the New York City. So this is pleasure to welcome him in the show. Welcome to the show, Costa Constantinides. This is great pleasure to have a talk with you.
It is my great honor to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Fortunately, as a journalist, I have seen you to many programs, having a speech to the community, their welfares, working for them, engaging to different kinds of community activities as a city council member. So what is your primary reading regarding your district's demography?
We are, as you mentioned in your opening, I would make the case that we are the most diverse district in the most diverse borough of the entire world.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You know, we are 190 languages spoken.
Oh my God.
And I think all of them in this district.
190 only in your district?
Only in the borough of Queens, and I would make the argument that all of them are spoken here.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's what America is all about. We are the epitome of everything that's right. We all come from different places in the world.
Right.
Whether that's from Cyprus in my case, or Nepal, or other
Bangladesh,
Bangladesh,
Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, and many Gulf countries.
Exactly. So we all come from different places, but we all come here with the same dreams, the same aspirations, the same hopes to give our family a better life than we had, to work hard, and to then retire with dignity, right?
Definitely,
so that's my goal, is to provide services to all of our constituents.
So probably this is one most important thing to highlight, that 109 languages from different part of the world. As a official, have you done any big attempt to preserve their language, or that means culture?
Yeah, I think that we are attempting to make sure that everyone feels part of what's going on.
Okay.
I think it's really making sure that every group, every one of those 190 languages has a story.
Yes.
And that they have the same access to tell that story that every other group does.
Right.
So we're trying to do things like make sure that they can get services.
Yes.
We're working worked with Elmhurst Hospital to make sure that Nepalese could be translated there.
Yeah.
So when someone's gravely ill, we needed to have all voices there.
Right.
And having someone from the Nepalese community is so important as part of that community advisory board to make sure the hospital is taking into account. Again, making sure that all of these services that we have in government are accessible and are able to be reaching in every language and every community. I'm very honored to work with the Nepalese community to make that happen, because it's so very important.
Yes, and one very sentimental might be, you have attended programs organized by Nepalese community, and maybe next day organized by Bangladesh community, maybe next day organized by Indian community, and so on. You are attending organized by Qatari, sometimes Saudi Arab probably, sometimes maybe Greece, Cyprus, Turkey, maybe Spanish community. What do you feel making you such type of so versatile and attending to different type of community, different cultures, addressing them, facing them, and feeling their activities like a part of your borough? What do you feel engaging with that different types of cultured people?
I am them, right? I mean, I'm a son of immigrants as well.
Can you translate yourself as the same when you are attending?
Absolutely. I mean, I've wore the tupi and Punjabi to Bangladeshi events during Eid. I've worn the ceremonial hat for the Nepalese community. I'm a son of immigrants as well. My grandfather came to this country from Cyprus. He was a dishwasher. My grandmother was a seamstress who sewed buttons on coats. My father had to learn English at 8 years old, coming to this country and wanting the American dream. that is what all of our communities are doing, and I haven't forgotten my family history. I celebrate it, right. And when I go to a Nepalese event or a Bangladeshi event or an Indian or Pakistani event, I think about the importance of what they're doing there and how they're celebrating their culture and how me being there can help.
Don't you think
them.
that for you this is quite complicated materials, like complicated thing?
No, I mean I
dealing with the totally different types of community every day.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I really do. I really.
What
feel
is the
important.
speciality being an official of that kind of diverse community?
You need to be able to recognize the difference in cultures,
right,
but the sameness of everyone.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
We are.
How do you balance between those two things?
The food may be different, the dress may be somewhat different, but at our core, we're celebrating one another. We're coming together to find solutions to the problems that we have. We're all trying to have a better life for ourselves and our family. We're all trying to build a stronger community. All those things are universal. At the core of all the events that we're doing, we're trying to get people involved. Where when I go, I went to the NIF Awards earlier this year, and recognizing great art, right? Film festival, representing great art that was able to bring people together to celebrate their cultural heritage, right? Like those type of events are so very important, and they're universal. Like there's a Greek film festival, and there's all of these things are at the core of the same. So I try to have a staff that is reflective. I've hired a great young man named Joy Chowdhury, who works with me, and I know he's very involved in the South Asian community. We want to make sure that we are reaching out and finding that sameness while celebrating the differences.
He is one of the key members for all the South Asian communities who connect with the official to the communities.
And not only working with me, but whether it's his South Asian Convention or Next Gen, again, bringing people together from even in the South Asian community, the 8 or 9 different groups, right? And then finding there may be differences, but we're finding finding the things that bring us together and finding how we can work together to make sure that the South Asian community get the things that they need. And moving forward, it's about making sure that we can better get the services that they need, whether that's being able to on Jumba prayer, right? Friday prayer. We're working with the Department of Transportation to try to on Sundays. There's no meter because you shouldn't have to pay to pray. So I'm actually exploring legislation that would study how we could make it easier for Friday prayer.
Yes, Costa, if you don't mind that, I have questions from an Uber driver who took me here from my house.
All right, there you go.
From Lerfrock City. Costa, if you don't mind that, I have questions from an Uber driver who took me here from my house.
All right, there you go.
From Lerfrock City. When I told him that, when he dropped me here, about to drop, he told, "Oh, you are here in the office?" Yes, I have an interview with Councilman Costa. He told, "Would you mind to ask questions on my behalf on him?"
Sure.
Definitely, he told that. Is it worthy to stop the TLC license plate? Because you mentioned that the South Asian and many more communities here, especially in your district, they are definitely involved in a large number of Uber driving. What is the fact that makes it to New York City to stop the
No one's stopping. We just had
stopping to register, right?
Well, right now we're not allowing. We've put a pause for a year.
Oh, pause, okay.
We put a pause for a year, and there's a reason for that. There's been over.
He said that it harms many more people.
Here's the challenge, right?
Especially for the youth who get really good money doing that job.
Well, here's the problem, right? 80,000 cars on the road have been added in the last 5 years.
Okay.
That's 80. I repeat that: 80,000 cars.
Oh.
And what we're seeing on city streets, we're seeing unprecedented congestion.
Right.
And that congestion means higher greenhouse gas emissions, more pollution in our air, more asthma rates. These are things that we have to figure out. We have to figure out as a city. If you go into a sandwich shop, right? There are rules and regulations for that sandwich shop. You're going to have to, there's certain things you have to wear, certain things have to go. we're looking to figure out how to regulate the for-hire vehicle, because there can't be unlimited growth. There has to be growth that is managed, that makes sense, and that as a city works for the city of New York to keep our streets moving, keep our air clean, have a living wage for drivers. Because what I heard too often from drivers of all ilk was that they weren't making enough money to support their families, and that what was used to be a full-time job as a taxi driver was very often a part-time job, and they'd have to drive with a yellow and drive with an Uber, and then they still weren't able to make ends meet. We've seen 7 suicides this year.
Yeah, especially if is he expecting anything message from you, what would be your message to him, like driving people?
Our message is that we want to give the American dream to everyone. I mean, that is the goal here. We want to make sure with this current pause that we're doing it in a way that gives you the best opportunity to support your family. We all came to this country wanting to be able to provide, and to see 7 drivers in the last year commit suicide. Because they can't pay their rent. They can't pay the mortgage on their car. That is something that we needed to take action and find a way to make sure that in our regulation, in our regulatory scheme, that they can make money, that we can keep our streets moving, that we can keep our air clean. These are the factors that went into this current plan.
That's really good, Costa. And moreover, like we already discussed about the positive part of our diverse community. Like especially if we talk about South Asian community, what are the major problems that they are facing? How are you analyzing that, and what's your effort to solve those kinds of problems?
I mean, I think access to services is one.
There
is city money that is available to many groups. And I don't know that our South Asian community is connected to those opportunities in the same way that other groups are. We want to make sure that they can apply for cultural grants. They can apply for city council grants. They can apply for the various city monies that are out there and available, and that can help better the lives of community members, especially in our South Asian community. So I think that's a huge challenge. We want to make sure, South Asian issues are neighborhood issues.
Definitely.
They're, as I talked about earlier, the whole issue of prayer and figuring out a way to not get a ticket while you're in prayer on Fridays. Or, today we renovated a playground in Jackson Heights.
What about the community center that they're expecting since long time? Have you noticed that problem?
Absolutely. I think that we need culturally appropriate services in the various languages from our South Asian communities. And a cultural center is a great idea. I think it's a matter of finding a suitable location and finding which groups are then going to actually run the cultural center, because you need and then in making the city investment. And that's, capital dollars to build.
Can we expect that it's going to happen in near future? Or
I would say that if I have my druthers, if I have my ability to do so, I would most certainly support that and work with the community to find the appropriate location.
Thank you, and we expect it from you as well, and your effort will definitely benefit to the community. Moreover, if we talk regarding environment issues that you are expert as well. In the world, especially to the metropolitan city, there is environmental crisis, and New York is also a part of it. How New York City is working to maintain a green environment?
So the climate change that we attack here is going to impact us. But it's also going to impact our, many of our the homes of many of our immigrant communities. We see, Bangladesh and other countries that are being
Nepal as well. We have Himalayas, and that's almost going to be dry.
It's going to be dry, right? So
it's really good problem.
If you talk about climate change, it's a local issue, but it's also an international challenge.
It's global.
So what I'm introducing probably next month.
Just one line I would like to mention here, that Al Gore, who was the candidate of president in 2002, he made a documentary named Everest. Considering the fact that Everest is falling in snow. It's going to be dry. So he won Oscar Award as well through that documentary. So we expect more from the United States regarding to save the world.
Well, the United States right now, our president is a climate denier.
Yeah.
We are not going to get any help from the federal government.
Yes.
But that said, we are going to do things here at the city level that are going to have major impacts. I'm introducing legislation next month that will be the largest emissions reduction policy in the history of the city.
Right.
We're going to retrofit about 50,000 buildings.
Oh.
But those buildings, and it's 50,000 doesn't sound like a lot. There are over 1 million buildings in the city of New York.
Yeah.
But just doing that work is going to reduce. They count for 30% of the city emissions.
Yes.
So 50,000 buildings account for 30% of our greenhouse gases.
Right.
You think about that, doesn't make any sense. We need to get those buildings under control. We need to retrofit those buildings.
Right.
And if we can do that, that's what's going to help us reach our emission goals of reducing emissions 80% by 2050.
Oh.
And we have to do that. We've seen the international panel on climate change, the IPCC report that came out. We have a very small window to impact climate change.
Right.
And the hearing that I had last week, we see things happening here in the city where on the conservative side,
Right.
sea level rise by 2080 could be in the area of 50 inches. We're a city surrounded by water. We're going to have a homeless challenge in our city of New York because of climate change. People are going to lose their homes. We have to take this as seriously as we possibly can.
I think one of the Assemblyman, Mr. Brand Brennewald, has proposed a bill, right, to make a wall on the city level to protect the city from the... I think one of the Assemblyman, Mr. Brand Brennewald, has proposed a bill, right, to make a wall on the city level to protect the city from the sea.
Well, the challenge with that, as I'll say, is that it's not only about storm surge, which a wall would deal with, but you're talking about every day. Like if you look behind me, you have my district, right?
Yeah.
You see the East River behind us.
Yes.
The East River rising just a little bit every year.
Yeah.
To a certain point where the areas around the water will just be flooded. So it will disappear into the sea. So the issue of storm surge is one challenge.
What are the preparations of the city to avoid this kind of disaster?
That's actually what we're working on. I think part of it is reducing emissions.
Okay.
And then the other part of it is coming up with more resilient cities and building our water line more resilient. We are, at this hearing, the New York panel on climate change said something I thought was very important. Queens has the largest landmass in the city of New York and is be the most impacted by climate change.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So that is, when I think about that, it means we need to be, as a borough, more resilient, more forward-thinking, more in tune with the things that have to happen when it comes to fighting climate change, because we have the most to lose. We are going to lose the most land area when it comes to sea level rise and flooding. We're going to be our families are going to be under attack. And in many areas, these are environmental justice communities, immigrant communities, neighborhoods who can't afford to just get up and move. So we need to reduce our emissions. We need to increase solar energy. We need to increase geothermal and wind and power. These are all part of this puzzle.
Yes.
And build a stronger water line, whether that's jetties, whether that's new wetlands. We need to make these investments, because if we don't, the borough of Queens will be the one that suffers the most. All the city will suffer, but we're going to be the one that suffers the most. We're going to be the ones that the
we are the most sensitive part and very sensitive part in New York City. Yes, and Councilman, if we talk regarding other convenient issue, like security is one of the most concerned part in this New York City as well. Like we have seen many more security problems and issues in the United States previous weeks. What is the specific plans of New York City that gives the properly secure message to the people? They feel that this is the best place to live in.
I think the number one thing that we're doing as a city is we're saying everyone's welcome.
I understand.
And I think that is so important, right? In this day and age, we have President tearing us apart, attacking our immigrant communities. We stand with our immigrant neighbors. We're going to fight to make sure that that our immigrant communities are not living in fear. That is an important part of how we keep our neighborhoods safe.
Yeah.
Right now we are the safest big city in America. Right. Our crime numbers are lower than they've ever been. Mm-hmm. We are dealing with issues surrounding terrorism and ordinary crime in our communities in a way that we are leading the world. But we also are making sure that we aren't marginalizing our immigrant neighbors. And that is when that's spending more money this year on immigration services. Mm-hmm. I invested more money with the Ensab Refugee Center to anyone who needs an attorney for these types of immigrant issues can happily, we provide those for free. So they can contact my office. We can connect you with those services. We want to make sure that no one feels that they're under, that they're not part of their own neighborhood. So that is the way that we best keep each other safe, is that we take care of one another. We welcome our immigrant neighbors, and we talked about in the beginning of our interview, we're the most diverse borough in the world. Definitely. By standing together, we're stronger.
Yes, eventually we do not have long time as well. But one of very important thing I need to ask you, because when I was living from home, one of my friends said, who works in restaurant, he said that, earning such kind of money and living in New York City is definitely killing. How a low-income family can survive in New York City, especially this kind of house rent and other expenses, how they can manage, how New York City is working on in this situation?
We're trying to do a number of things. Yes. I'm trying to build more affordable housing in my district. I'm also trying to build more senior affordable housing.
Great.
As we age, right, we're all going to get older.
Yeah.
There is 22,000 residents of my district waiting for senior affordable housing.
Great.
We need to get not only senior affordable, but senior appropriate housing. We need to get, once they're moving into those buildings, that'll hopefully move others into those affordable units that they're vacating. And then also we need to protect the integrity of our neighborhoods. So I'm a sponsor of the Small Business Survival Act.
Right.
And so keeping our restaurants, our shops, making sure that they're not pushed out by higher rents. It's about the entirety of the community. So it's fighting against higher rents. It's making sure we have affordable housing. Okay. It's making sure we can have affordable rents for our businesses and keep our immigrant businesses. Mm-hmm. One of the great things about Astoria is that you can go out to dinner every single night.
Yes.
And you can have something from all different parts of the world.
I agree.
And
like Jackson Heights as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can eat all day and never eat the same restaurant twice.
Yes.
Though I have my favorites, as we all do, right? Yes. So, we all, you could eat around the world. We want to make sure we protect the integrity of that the rising rents don't push out what makes our neighborhood special, right? Our diversity is what makes it special. We need to maintain that diversity for the long term. And that means protecting against higher rents, protecting against higher rents for businesses, getting affordable housing, getting senior affordable housing. All of these are part of that puzzle.
Yes, Costa, lastly, have you tasted the foods of your district's community,
absolutely.
Like South Asian food, or might be Bengali, Nepalese,
Indian, absolutely,
or Spanish, Arabic? Have you tasted all the foods?
I have. I don't eat at every event.
Yes.
Because
what about the Nepali food?
I have. When they had an event for me a couple of weeks back, I tried some of the food. I loved it.
How many stars you want to give to Nepal?
5 stars. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. You are really absolutely
much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and opinions.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
It's my great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.